Hi, camera people.
Hey.
Hello. Had a slight technical malfunction, so the first half of the episode's missing. So now you got to go to the podcast and actually listen to it. Okay.
We discussed very interesting things.
We did. It's actually a really good discussion, and y'all missed it, so you'll have to check back later. Meanwhile, now we can say this again. If you take a quick look, we've changed our camera, so we no longer have the 1980s graphic camera. We have a better quality. Thank you, Eric, for providing that for us.
Oh, no problem.
So we now have a better quality. My goal by 2015 is to have a multi-camera shot show, and you're going to see all stuff in the background.
We're going to be in 3D?
I'm hoping to go holographic someday.
Then you'll really hate yourself.
Yeah, then we'll be, because I hate myself now. I was telling them I'm asking how many cameras are on me, because I swear to God I look 10 times fatter than I feel. This is my motivation to lose weight now, is watching myself on video. Okay, so are you guys ready to record the next segment here?
Sure.
Excellent, here we go. So we're going to record about Spark of Rebellion.
Yay.
Welcome back, fans. We are back to discuss the first episode, I can't believe I'm ever going to say this, of Star Wars Rebels, Spark of Rebellion.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It's not episode 3, Gary, but it's only 2 episodes away.
That's right.
3. So
I wondered when it was going to come out.
we tried to leave it for the second half of the show. All right, first off, general thoughts so far of the show, because now we've seen our first episode. I've anticipated it. Gary's dreaded it. So now that it's come out, first thoughts. Who wants to go first?
You.
Me? You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I'll go first. I like it. I do. But you know, you guys all think my bar is low because I liked Clone Wars too. I mean, portions of it. But
come on, you like droids, so we know it's
I hated droids. God, I wouldn't.
Yeah, right.
Well, all right.
About Jedi.
Here's what I'll admit. And for those people out there that never want to admit this, the heck with you. I liked droids as a kid. As a child, I thought it was amazing because for its time, it was just cool to see Star Wars on TV. But looking back as an adult now, having seen it as an adult, it was an awful show. I tried watching it with my own children, and even after 15 minutes, I was falling asleep in the chair. So it was like, yeah, guys, we're not going to watch this anymore. We did the same thing with Ewoks. I thought Ewoks was awesome when I was a kid. Now, hate it.
Didn't like either one.
Really?
When I was a kid.
And maybe it's the age difference, because I was younger when those shows came out than you were, almost by 5-6 years. So it was enough that as a kid it made me enthralled. Star Wars on TV, yay, you know. But I'll admit there were parts of Clone Wars I didn't like. You know, so far, Star Wars Rebels, I liked it. And there's a lot of epic things about it that I like. I like the music. The throwback. The minute we started this episode, and we had all the throwback music within the first 5 minutes, I just got completely nostalgic. I loved that part of it. And then hearing the TIE fighters going by, seeing the speeder bikes with the speeder bike sound, hearing the blaster fire the way it is in the movies, seeing Luke's Return of the Jedi blaster, which is my favorite blaster of all time. I'm like dying to get that blaster for my Mando someday. For me, that was just like hit. The whole thing was a hit all the way through. The only real issue I had was the Wookiees.
They were skinny.
They were
Actually,
skinny.
They looked like they'd taken the actual figure of Chewie and just scanned
yes,
in.
it looked a lot like the figure.
Yeah, and my other issue with the Wookiees was the hair didn't look natural. They looked like it was like wood.
Yeah, they looked like they
didn't look like
action
hair.
figure.
Well, yeah, to a large extent, they look like it. Yeah. You know, when you look at Ezra, for example, the young boy, his hair is actually flowing as he's moving his head.
But it's so solid
stiff.
shapes. It's solid shapes.
But at least it's flowing in a
right.
stiff manner. You know, almost like I said, to me, you can see the anime style in this, whereas with Clone Wars, it definitely was more cartoon than anime. This, you can tell, is more anime than cartoon. You can tell by the style. So, but when you've got Ezra who's got hair like that, you expect the Wookiees to have that same motion and hair, and it just, because the hair didn't move
at all.
It felt like I thought it was like they were made of wood. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought the Wookiees were made of wood. So that was the only drawback to the whole episode. I think that's an issue they can fix later on. I think that's maybe a time issue that they just didn't have time to get to, you know. But overall, I like the storyline. To me, it comes back to the storyline. I like the beginning storyline already. I like this of this boy that may have Jedi powers that they're not sure. I like the fact that you've got a fallen Jedi on the crew. I like I liked the overall story arc. So for me, that was a sell. The story arc definitely was. Ian, what was your overall thoughts so far?
I liked it. The animation, as you said, is more anime. It looks a lot crisper, a lot clearer than with the Clone Wars. I didn't like the way the Clone Wars was animated.
Yeah.
At all the way through. But this I liked a lot more. Development of costumes, you can see they're now proper stormtroopers.
Yep.
You got the development of the bike scout with that helmet and how that's going to go. The Imperial officers, I didn't know if you'd noticed, they've now got certain rank marks on their collars and around their on their
I
hats.
noticed the hat has a different insignia on it now, which I thought was kind of interesting. And
It's still got the disc, but there's
but
other
now there's that
colouring.
little swooshy thing on the
Yeah.
side that I was kind of like, great, now I gotta go change my costume.
Well, I've just got my Imperial 501st approved on.
Yes,
My
you did.
Imperial officer. I am not messing around with
Well,
that.
that's why I was kind of like, I'm not changing mine, damn it.
It's taken me too long because it's so finicky with that costume.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
you went for the Grand Moff version, right?
well, it's the olive
olive drab,
green.
right? Yeah.
And they're very, very specific with that. The cuts of the uniform,
Even the stitching on it has to be a certain way.
the trousers have to balloon a certain way. You
Yep.
have to have riding boots, not ordinary boots.
Right.
I couldn't wear the Grand Moff, which I wanted to, because there's only one Grand Moff, and you have
It'd
to
be
look
Tarkin.
like him.
Right.
So, but I went with an Admiral instead.
Yep.
Nearly up there. But I like those little things that people can now look at and change with their costumes if they wanted to go with the Rebels sort of feel and look to it.
Yeah.
And the sound effects.
Yeah.
It's all about sound effects for me.
Yeah. It definitely gives it a different, I don't want to say better, a different feel, for sure. Eric, what were your overall thoughts, Rebels, so far, after one episode?
Well, yeah, one episode, 1 hour. Positives was everything that harkened back to old school. Everything that you guys have already mentioned, so I can't retread too much. Music, sound effects, the traditional stormtroopers,
typicals.
speeder bikes, the music cues. The story itself was okay. I wasn't super taken by it. It's. I got to give it time, I guess.
Yeah.
As with anything, it's got to grow on me a bit. I like the characters for the most part. I think there's potential for them. I like. It was okay. I can't say it was stellar for me. It didn't blow me out of the water. It did give me the nostalgia, but there was things, and I'm always big on the way scenes are blocked, the way scenes are choreographed.
Yeah.
That felt a little
Pushed.
a little rough and pushed to me. It's the stormtroopers couldn't hit anything from a foot away. I mean, they were right there on top of people, and shots are just flying past. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know stormtroopers can't hit people. Give us a little more believability in that. Give us a little more something.
Yeah, singe someone's hair or something. Yeah.
Something. A TIE fighter comes in, flying over the entranceway to the city, and fires some blasts, and he dives about 10 feet or 5 feet from his speeder bike, and it blows up, and he's fine. Well, they can hit the speeder bike perfect, but they couldn't hit him. It's like in this big open space. I don't know. I just needed. Here's a small scene that would have made me happier. Where they're going along on the speeder bikes to being chased by some biker scouts behind them, pulling up, trying to catch them, firing like crazy. You hear the laser going off like mad, not hitting anything.
Yeah.
Like through the whole scene, it's just firing off rapidly. The Jedi, and help me with the name, the lead guy.
This is why I
We're just into the series. I know I got
Kanan.
Kanan, or however it's pronounced, Kanan. Pulls up next to him and says, "You got me," holds his hands out, and then says, "Here, just kidding, catch." He throws it, and the guy does the kind of bumbling thing with the explosive. I just hated that moment and thought it would have been so much nicer if he put his hands out to say, "You got me." And the guy looked at him and he goes, "Just kidding," and flicked it, and it was magnetic. It went up and stuck to the side of the guy's helmet. And he's like, grabs it and tries to pull it off, and then just that little bobbling, the cartooniness of it bothered me. It didn't sit with me. Like, can you not do that stereotypical thing? Can we do something a little different at those moments? So those are the kind of things that there was a series of those all the way through with the dive behind these crates. Okay, now even though all of our heads are up and we're firing, we don't have to duck too much because no one's hitting anything, and things like that that didn't sit with me. And that's mine. I want to see where the story goes. The characters are definitely likable. They're definitely different. They're defined pretty well. I think that's a good start. I wasn't sitting there going, well, what's the point of this person again? They all seem to have their role. be interesting to see where they go, but I want to see a little more originality from them.
Yep. Gary, what were your thoughts for the first time through?
Oh, for once, it's got the feel of Star Wars, where the quickness and the pace and everything. It's not.
I absolutely agree. The pacing was perfect.
It wasn't a slow, dragged out episode or nothing.
Even the parts that were slow didn't feel slow in the episode itself.
I don't like the Laurel and Hardy act between the whatever the thing is there and
Zeb
and the kid. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care for that.
You never liked humor in Star Wars, though, so
Right.
I think that probably plays a role into that.
Well, the humor in Star Wars is just the background stuff, not
yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
the forward-mentioned stuff with the different characters and all that.
Right.
The banter between each other is okay, but not the
physical
the
altercation.
slapstick stuff that's there. Like Eric, I need more than just an hour episode
To fully... all right, so let me ask this as a general concept so far. Do you think they're at least all... Do we all agree they're moving in the right direction at this point?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say that at least it's a great start, and it feels like it's got a good point to it.
If they keep the pace of every episode after this, like this one, it'll be all right.
What was interesting for me was watching my son watch it.
Yeah.
Because he was up and down playing around, but towards the end of it, when it started to get a little bit more serious in the episode, he was glued.
Well, he liked the Wookiees, too. I noticed that every time he heard that Wookiee sound, he was all over it. He's like, oh, that he was right on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for him to ask where his medal was.
He actually does that all the time. He goes, "Where's my medal?"
I agree. The pacing thing was something I didn't think about, which is true. The pacing seems to be fairly well put together and thought out. And I think that is the issue Clone Wars had, was the pacing. The one thing I think it does have over on Clone Wars that I saw no issues of in this episode was there definitely wasn't a tracking problem between the audio and the video.
No,
which seemed to be a constant problem in Clone Wars, that they were fighting the whole time. This actually felt more like it was polished, and they had actually done that and gone back. And if even on the good Clone Wars episodes, when you look at it, it's not quite there. The mouth movement and the words don't quite ever line up in Clone Wars, and here I didn't get that impression at all. What do you guys think of the way they've portrayed the Empire so far? Is it expected, or do you think it's kind of a weird, doesn't fit in?
This adds into my whole the things that are stereotypical that I don't like.
Yeah.
God, they made the Empire bumbling.
Yeah.
I didn't get any menace from the Empire as being an Empire other than the opening scene where they're kind of threatening the lowly, shop guy. They literally pulled their ship right into their bay and couldn't keep them there, and they got away fairly easily and couldn't catch it. I want to feel more menace from the Empire.
And then when Ezra is escaping, he gets on the headset with the trooper helmet that he was wearing.
Yeah.
And says that this is LDS 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever he said there. Don't they know their designations and stuff?
Here's the way I kind of explain that off. And Austin and I were talking about that because he said the same thing, because that's why I was asking this question. And here's how I kind of explained it to him. I see this as being early on in the creation of the Empire, so maybe they are still a little bumbly-fumbly. Maybe they haven't really, maybe they've changed over from RCs to Stormtrooper code, and they haven't quite learned that yet. And maybe that's part of the bumbly-fumbly part of it, is it's early on, and the military's making that transition, and maybe they haven't.
You know what? I would like to have had a moment where they were just
badass.
Is this that or you're using clone trooper codes again? Change over a little bit.
Switch to other codes.
Something that shows reasons they're having trouble. Make it a story element. They're having trouble establishing the Empire. Don't just let them be bumbling, but make it a story element.
Or
if they're
don't
going to be for a reason.
As an audience, we know that's what's going on.
Right, and so like you said, I wish they'd had a bit more badass menace to them. I don't want to root for the Empire, but I want they're a threat. And these guys just felt like, well, you're trapped by the Empire. Okay, well, fake some coughs, jump into an air vent. There was so much air venting going on in this episode, and then you can make a pretty quick escape, even though you're right there and everyone's shooting at you. They're not going to be able to stop you.
That's a good question. Don't you guys think people really do want to root for the Empire to a large extent?
I was actually expecting Ripley to turn up at any moment around the corner.
Yeah.
I think people want to root for the Empire. I know that they're the bad guys, but I think it's why Vader's so popular. You want to root for the guy. He's a badass.
You don't necessarily want to root for him, but you want them to feel powerful.
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
they're not a villain, and it is not a good villain and not an enemy if there's no threat from them.
Right.
That's what I think made Empire so awesome, was the fact that they destroyed the rebellion.
Right, almost in one fell swoop.
Yeah, and that's why kids. Again, that's why as kids we probably didn't like it. As a kid, I remember hating The Empire Strikes Back because it felt like such a downer. And then as I grew older, I look at it now and go, "Wow, that was a really smart, kind of courageous thing." The rebellion won in the first episode. It was so upbeat. You needed to go this route and to create the sense of threat, to create the angst, to push the story forward. Is the Empire needed a victory. So, and it was by the end. Everyone, they had done everything, and you were just like, "Oh, the heroes are just screwed right now." And
that's where I'm wondering if they're going to use Darth Vader to make the Inquisitor more than what he is, in order to make the next things that come along will look like the Inquisitor really is the bad boy of the group. And that's why you haven't seen or felt like the Empire. I almost wonder if, like, when the Inquisitor shows up, the Stormtroopers suddenly stand up a little straighter and are shooting a little better. You know what I mean? Just because
we'll have to see how he's treated. All we've seen is the clips we've seen.
You're right.
And if you go by this one episode, we just saw him standing in a hologram. I mean, we saw nothing of him yet if you're going by the way they're telling the story. Right. So it'd be interesting to see where they take him. But God, the whole all in all, the people in the Empire need to be a bit more of a threat.
Yeah. So of the rebellion crew, which one is your favorite one? I guess I'll start. For me, of the crew so far, I'm actually liking Ezra the most. I think she's got kind of an edge to her. I think she's a cool female character.
No, Ezra's the boy.
Yeah. Sorry, not Hera. Sorry, I've been worried about doing this. Hera. I like Hera because she's a great female role. I think in the show, I think it's nice having a female to balance out the males, and to kind of quip with Kanan quite a bit, which she does, and I think it's good to see that balance between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
What I feel with her is she's got the Leia aspect. She's the one who's going to take charge of everything.
Yeah, and I like that though. That's what I liked about Leia. She's kind of a bad girr, bad boy girl.
We'll get this walking carpet out of my way.
Right, like those kind of things.
I get the sense of her that too. I definitely think that's where they're gonna over time, and if so, I like that in her as a character. But unfortunately, if we're going by just the first episode, she spent a lot of time sitting in a seat, and standing for a couple
just
meetings.
The pilot
She's the pilot who is, talks back to him a little bit, and obviously doesn't take anything.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like her is because, Han Solo was the pilot of the Millennium Falcon. He was out there on the
Well, I think it's because they only had a crew of 2 for Han. Over here, you've got a nice crew.
But still, even with Luke and Leia and all that, he was still right there.
Right now, she's stagnant. She seems fairly stagnant.
Yeah, and I get it. One episode. How much can you do in one episode? You know, it takes time.
Ian, do you have a favorite of the crew so far?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
No.
And I know we're still dealing with character development and all that. We're waiting. Eric, do you have a favorite of the crew?
I think the Jedi could be cool, depending on... I want to know more about his story.
Yeah.
What was his role during the Clone Wars? Or
it'd be cool to have some flash.
They're going to do a bit more with him.
The one thing that made me think about in this episode was, he had a holocron.
Yeah.
Only significant Jedi walked away with holocrons.
Well, I think this is
But at this point, maybe I'd say there's not a whole lot of Jedi left, so everyone's significant.
Well, I'm thinking the holocron is something that
just communication.
Kenobi made and just sent out to
as many as
a
possible.
Communication holocron kind of thing.
And you had to be a Jedi to be able to find it or whatever.
I think... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my one disappointment is the scene where he reveals himself to be the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, their whole plan was we're going to get in a crate and get picked up. Why did you need to reveal you're a Jedi at that moment? Just stay behind your cover, maybe use a force push and shove a big crate across the way at the people when you needed it for that moment. But it felt like, we need to show the audience what he is at this moment. It didn't feel true to me
I saw it more as he wanted to create the distraction so they could try to get out of there without
maybe
too much.
there's some of that.
I agree with the part where he's going to show himself and reveal the secret that he is a Jedi to everybody, but he should have stayed out there more until the ship came and picked up the crate and then took off.
And I don't know
for the defense of the crate.
Think about this side though. Extremely hunted right now.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to reveal who you are just for a little firefight? Because now your ship and all your crew is going to be that much more in peril because now they're going to be hunting you specifically. You'd think that's a secret he would want to really hide at this time of the Empire when the Jedis are still being.
But on the other
hunted.
hand, I think that's kind of that's going to stoke the whole issue of the show is the fact that the Inquisitor is going to be hunting this crew down now. And
Right. Yeah.
right there.
But to just step up and reveal it seems
It
to
might
me
have been
like
better to wait a little
longer.
Maybe wait half a season before
I
revealing.
mean, the crew could find out, and that'd be like the secret chapter. We're going to be in big trouble,
Right.
because they're going to really be after us, and then at some point he has to reveal.
Now it's just out there.
Yeah.
Well, you got your General Grievous and your Dooku roles right there.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So Gary, did you have a favorite character yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I like Callus. It was pretty cool.
You like Callus? Yeah. I thought it was kind of his whole beard thing is kind of interesting. It's like
The mutton
sideburns with like mutton chops. Too, it's like it's kind of an odd combination. All right. So overall, just having watched Spark of Rebellion, let's give it a rating. A 0, don't bother, 10 being a must see. I'll start this one since I've been starting everything. I would actually give this one a 9, a good solid 9. It wasn't a spectacular, it didn't blow me away, but it definitely has me interested. I want to see where they're going to go with these characters. I thought it was a solid start. I think. When compared with what we've gotten out of Clone Wars and pretty much anything else from LFL lately, this is absolutely a huge step in the right direction. So many things are working for it. Just the classic feel, the classic music, the classic sound effects. Do I think the animation could be worked on? I think it will be, and I think it is in a work in progress. But a good start. I think it's a solid start. Ian, what would you give this one?
I'm going to give this a 5
Ooh, okay.
because it is the first episode, and I'm not going to put all my eggs in
one basket, yeah.
and say it is fantastic because
Well, I admit I've been
Further on
excited
down
about
the
Rebels, so
you have, I haven't.
No, I know.
I've been sort of like,
Yeah.
whatever,
yeah.
whatever.
Well, I think you and Gary are kind of in the same mode in that you've been disappointed by the Clone Wars, and you're now your expectations higher because the Clone Wars disappointed so much. You're expecting more, I think. So, am I right about that? I think.
Actually, to be quite honest with you, it started at episode 1.
Yeah.
I have not been. I mean, yeah, great. We've got this new Star Wars, blah 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 blah, getting new people into it and new generation and all that. But for us older ones, it just didn't.
Hasn't had the feel yet.
No,
Yeah.
and neither did the Clone Wars.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they've got to really impress me.
Yeah. Like I said, we raised the bar quite a bit ourselves. Eric, where would you rate this one?
I'm going to drop in at about a 6.5.
Okay.
If this was anywhere during later in the season, it'd be a lower score. But we're saying how essential is this to watch? It's the first episode. You got to watch it. I got to give it some credit because it's the starting off point. And you can't have fully fleshed out, complete characters from the get go on a long term show like this. It's going to take some time.
Right.
But I feel all the positives were the things you mentioned in terms of the nostalgia, and I need to see more from the story. I need to see more from the Empire as a. I think your heroes are only as good as the threat they're up against, and I think that the Empire to me is maybe the weak point right now. If the Empire is going to be a major crux of the story, they got to be stronger. They got to be something that is threatening, something that pushes the season through and gives these guys a sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
And I didn't feel it from this episode, so that made the heroes to me feel weak.
Okay. Gary.
I'm a 5.
Okay.
Nothing really leapt out at me. I mean, the pacing was okay, but that's about it. The storyline really wasn't spectacular. The Wookiees weren't.
The Wood Wookiees?
Yeah, the wooden Wookiees.
I think that's really the major issue with the
But
first episode.
Wasn't he
of
in
Loki.
Transform? No, that was with Wiki, not Wood.
With Wiki.
But that is one thing that has been going on with Star Wars lately. The wooden acting and stuff. So,
Yeah. So you think the wooden Wookiees are a reflection of the acting?
Right.
I was just waiting for the one little one to be running around and someone to be like, "Oh, you rescued Lumpy
Yeah.
or Stinky." Or
Oh, I was so worried that they were going to do that too. I really was.
So,
Or to have somebody come out with dancing in a tights or something. You know what I mean? Like I really.
yeah.
That was an awkward moment. The whole Wookiee, they just didn't look right. You know what I mean? I liked the Wookiees, but they didn't look right.
And then, like Eric was saying, when the stormtroopers can't hit nothing, and when they're on the speeder bikes, they're going in a straight line,
yeah,
and they're still missing.
it's like if you want to hit something that's on the same level as you, just go to the left.
Yeah.
Or the right. It's like your stream of lasers, if you're firing that much, is going to hit.
Maybe Family Guy's right. Drifting lazily to the left is maneuvers.
but like Return of the Jedi, is the whole speeder bike scene in that.
It's amazing when you're going through the woods and
they're dodging trees.
Yeah, there's a lot of turning,
dodging and diving. And
So you can understand why they're not hitting the
Right.
Luke and Leia with their blasters.
right.
And
But
to go-
here, there's nothing.
Right.
You know.
To go back to Empire, that's one of the ones where they did it right. Where again, I think the threat level was there. Think about the blaster shots. Think about how many times, even in Cloud City, Luke had to duck behind a wall and something exploded right where his head was.
Right.
You know, it's like they felt like they were being shot at and they couldn't catch up.
Right.
They couldn't. They had to constantly stay behind the blaster fire because they could get hit. I mean, they still weren't. They were still stormtroopers missing them, but it felt a little more of a threat. I mean, you need. I don't know, duck behind a crate from 5 feet away and fire, and I'm going to be safe. It just makes me feel like they can't hit
Yeah,
anything.
they could have shown some of the crates blowing up that are behind the speeder bikes.
Sure.
Did
Yeah.
you notice one of the speeder guys? He was hiding behind a crate, and instead of ducking behind the crate, he just turned his head.
Yeah.
What? The back of your head is more
Yeah. Suddenly,
reinforced?
it's suddenly not a target, but the front is.
Oh, it's that sloping dome that he's got.
And I think that's going to be one of their tricks, and it's probably a problem they have with the Clone Wars. That eventually, I think some of the better episodes were the ones where they gave up on this. Is they're trying to? It's still a kids show.
Yeah.
It's still Disney XD,
They have to ditch
and they
that.
have to make it not feel as
Right.
threatening because it's not for adults. It's Disney XD, so it's going to be. I think
they gotta
being
ditch
on
that
Cartoon
idea.
Network gave them, at least when they went dark and those episodes are dark, they could do it. They
Right.
weren't worried.
They already had adults who watched Cartoon Network.
So I wonder how much of this is. That's one of my fears. Is this why the Empire doesn't feel as threatening as it could? Because it's like, well,
Essentially.
it can't get too scary. It can't get
Right.
too threatening.
Well, maybe if on ABC it'll be.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Maybe that's what we're thinking. Maybe they'll move it there in order to make it a little darker. So.
Right.
All right, so that's our thoughts here on Star Wars Spark of Rebellion. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Head on over to GalaxyCast.com. Click on that button to tell us more. As we like to say here in the Star Production Studios,
May the Force be with those who listen.
Awesome. Okay, so
Nice
those of you in
episode.
Video Land, thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.